Perhaps you've always wanted to see Pluto. Maybe you're on the hunt for beautiful but dim spiral galaxies like IC 3016. Or perhaps you're hoping to catch the faint center star in planetary nebula NGC 6369. Even the $600 eyepiece in this small tabletop scope won't help you to see a 14th magnitude dwarf planet or a 15th magnitude galaxy. The optics are just too small to gather in enough light. But with our 25 and 30-inch Obsession telescopes under the very dark skies of Long Lake Conservation Center, the impossible becomes possible. Hi, this is Jen, and I will be your guide as we learn to use the LLCC Observatory. The Minnesota Astronomical Society, or MAS, is fortunate to have the support of the Long Lake Conservation Center. The garage, multiple electrical circuits, and dark sky-friendly lighting have been a joint effort of both organizations. MAS has equipped the observatory with several of the larger privately held telescopes in Minnesota. The LLCC field around the observatory is available on designated weekends to all MAS members in good standing. LLCC also provides bunkhouse accommodations, typically 3 rooms with 4 double bunks per room. In return, we provide occasional stargazing or other educational activities for interested LLCC visitors. Keyholders, those authorized to use the MAS Observatory for personal use, are certified by trainers of the MAS LLCC committee following instruction on site or through this video. In this session, we'll learn how to open and close the LLCC Observatory, as well as set up and take down of the observatory equipment. Along the way, we'll learn how to collimate, align, and operate the large Obsession telescopes. Before we walk through the details of each step, let's see a quick overview of a typical setup and teardown. First, we open the observatory and prepare for setup. Secondly, we position one or both large telescopes approximately 25 feet from the garage. Third, we collimate both mirrors for the best possible image. Fourth, we align the telescope so it can find and track your astronomical targets. Next, we use the extraordinary light-gathering power of the large mirrors to observe the night sky. And last, we return all equipment to its proper location. The rest of this video covers these procedures in greater detail, as does the associated handout. Setup consists of opening the observatory, moving one or both Obsession telescopes, and removing the transport cart. To begin, we open the garage, which houses the equipment. Enter the code in the lockbox on the small side door. Unlock side door of garage. The combination of the lockbox is provided to key holders. Use the key inside of the lockbox to unlock the door. Immediately re-secure the key inside the lockbox. From the inside of the garage, slide the bolt on the large door and open it. Ensure that the door clears the telescope parked inside. Next, we set up the telescope. We start off by sliding the cover off the scope. Then, we unplug the heater electrical cord. Before we roll the scope out, we check for flat tires on the cart. Finally, we park the scope on the gravel pad. Remove the protective cover off of the telescope. Lift the back opened end over any possible obstructions, especially the digital setting circle, DSC, stock, and hand pads. Pull from the front. Fold the cover and place it in the back of the garage on the counter. Unplug the heater extension cord, or cords, from the Obsession scopes you will be using. The pneumatic tires will soon be replaced with solid no-flat tires. Until then, ensure that the tires on the transport cart are inflated before rolling the scope out of the garage. A pump is located on the north wall of the garage near the small door if they need more air. Holding the T-bar attached to the back of the cart, carefully roll one or both Obsession telescopes out of the garage. ensuring that the upper tube assembly safely clears the garage door and does not scrape the adjacent wall. This is most easily done with 2 people, one at each end of the scope, but can be done with 1 person. Roll the scope approximately 25 feet from the garage. LLCC has added a Class 5 gravel pad large enough for both telescopes to provide a safe and level platform for scopes and ladders. Keep the back of the cart, winch side, pointing in the general direction of the garage to keep the electrical connection under the rocker base close to the garage. Next, we'll remove the cart. Multiple safety devices secure the telescope to the cart, including a stabilizing bar, safety chains on the 25-inch scope, and a boat-type winch with a locking lever. Remove the lock pins at each end of the stabilizing bar at the front of the wheeled cart. Grasp the bar near the center and pull. Tap with your hands near the ends if it needs a little persuasion. Next, we lower the transport carriage using the winch. With one hand, firmly hold the winch handle while you release the ratchet lock. The 25-inch cart is equipped with safety chains to the left and right of the winch. Release those if present. Carefully lower the transport carriage until it clears the base of the telescope. If you do not hold on to the winch handle when the lock is released, the weight of the scope and gravity will conspire to rapidly whip the handle around, striking any nearby body part and potentially damaging the scope or cart. Crank the lift up slightly for easy movement across the ground and store it near the garage. Fine equipment needs routine maintenance to work at its best. Collimating at the start of each observing session will provide you with the best possible image. Collimation adjusts the large primary mirror and the small secondary mirror so the primary and eyepiece are aimed directly at each other. Before we can fine-tune the mirrors, we must remove the protective covers. Remove the cover on the digital setting circle or DSC stock and store it with the scope cover. Ensure that the telescope is not pointed towards the sun. The large mirror will focus an intense beam of light that can hurt you and set fire to the scope. Uncover the secondary mirror at the front of the scope. The black nylon light shroud keeps stray light from degrading the image you see in the eyepiece. Loosen the elastic cords at the base of the shroud, at the top of the mirror box, and the side opposite the DSC stock. The plywood cover over the primary mirror is held in place by 2 cabinet catches. From the side near the bottom of the shroud, remove the plywood cover from primary mirror. Place the secondary bag with the other protective covers on the garage counter. Place the large plywood mirror cover out of the way near the refrigerator. Use caution. Do not drop items onto the mirror. Next, we'll use a laser collimator to help us properly align the mirrors. Collimation tools, along with eyepieces and filters, are found in the gray Pelican case to the right of the refrigerator. At the telescope, remove the 1 1/4 inch eyepiece adapter and plastic cap out of the focuser in the upper tube assembly, top of telescope or UTA. Take the white magnetic Barlow lens off of the Astrosystem's laser collimator and insert the laser collimator into the focuser, rotating it so the collimator screw nests into the depression on the focuser. Keep the Barlow handy. Tighten the 2 focuser thumb screws. Turn on the laser by pushing the button in the center. On the 25-inch Obsession telescope, look into the UTA. Adjust the 3 thumb screws, 4 on the 30-inch, on the back of the secondary to center the laser spot in the small dark circle on the center of the primary. Adjust adjacent or opposite pairs of screws together, loosen one and tighten the other to keep the mirror holder secure. When done, all screws should be snug, but not overly tight, and the laser dot is precisely in the middle of the primary mirror. Collimating the large primary is easier with two people, one making adjustments at the bottom of the mirror box, while the other looks into the UTA to note if each adjustment is helping or not. Reach inside the UTA and put a white magnetic Barlow lens on the end of the collimator. Adjust the 3 screws at the bottom of the primary mirror to center the silhouette of the primary center circle on the Barlow lens. Turn off the collimator, remove the Barlow, and remove the collimator. Place the Barlow back on and return it to the Pelican case in the garage. If you are aligning the primary by yourself, use the Howie Glatter tube lug. This tool allows you to see the results of your primary mirror adjustments while remaining at the bottom of the telescope. Insert the Laser Collimator into the Howie Glatter tool. Insert the Howie Glatter into the focuser so that the white elliptical screen faces the bottom of the scope. Turn on the laser. You do not need the white magnetic Barlow as the Howie Glatter has an internal Barlow. Adjust the 3 screws at the bottom of the primary mirror and center the silhouette of the primary mirror, or donut, on the Howie Glatter white screen. Although it is more difficult to see the laser dot or reflected donut in the daytime, collimation may be done during the day. The shade found inside of the telescope makes this possible. Using the Howie Glatter during the day is challenging. Move the scope so the elliptical screen is in the shade of the scope. You can move the large obsession scopes manually, hopping from known stars to get to your desired deep space target. But these telescopes can find and track over 29,000 objects for you. The ArgoNavis and ServoCat hand pads are the tools you will use to find your way through space. ArgoNavis is the small computer that provides lists of and navigation to astronomical objects. ServoCat is a motorized telescope control system that interfaces with ArgoNavis to provide a complete go-to function. ArgoNavis is controlled through the blue handpad on the left. ServoCat is controlled through the smaller handpad on the right labeled StellarCat on the 30 or RX Design on the 25. Both are mounted on the DSC stock connected to the rocker base. Under the ServoCat handpad, next to the ArgoNavis, flip the toggle switch under the acrylic shelf to the right to use the ServoCat Go-To motor controller on the stock at the base of the scope, or to the left to use the remote ServoCat next to the focuser on the UTA. These mini computers require electricity. Remove the telescope power supply from the labeled cabinet in the garage. Plug the power supply into one of the 110-volt outlets surrounding the garage. Run the 12-volt feed to the telescope. Push the microphone-type plug into the outlet below the rocker base until the push-button lock engages. Ensure that all cables are properly connected and all toggle switches, inside the rocker base, are in the up position. The power switch box is in the right rear in the 30-inch, left rear in the 25. Confirm power to the scope by checking the fan at the bottom of the primary mirror. It will be running quietly. Before the telescope can go to your target, we need to match its internal sky map with the actual location of a couple of stars. This will calibrate the ArgoNavis. Secure the shroud with the elastic cords and ensure altitude and azimuth clutches are disengaged so scope can be easily raised or rotated manually. The altitude clutch is disengaged when thrown to the left, red handle pointing to the back of the scope. And the azimuth clutch is disengaged when thrown to the right, towards ServoCat controller. Insert an eyepiece into the focuser. Using greater magnification can help achieve a more precise alignment. Position a ladder so that it is conveniently close but not in the way. Point the scope to the zenith, pushed all the way to the stops in the rocker base. Turn on the ArgoNavis, switch it upper left on the front of the larger handpad. If there are power or functional issues after a long winter sitting idle, unplug and replug all of the cables at the base of the DSC stop. ArgoNavis display will read Fix Alt Reference. Note that the three main controls are Enter, Exit, and the dial. The Enter button drills down in the menu, the Exit button goes up, and the dial selects horizontally within a menu category. Push Enter, pause 1 second, and touch Enter again. Enter must be pushed twice. Push Exit. Look into the night sky for 2 bright stars you could use for alignment. Ideally, they are in different quadrants of the sky and at different elevations, and not too close to either the horizon or zenith. Turn the dial to Align Star and hit Enter. Turn the dial to the name of the first alignment star. Point the scope at the star, first using the Telrad finder to get close, then centering it in the eyepiece and tap Go To on the wireless servocat on the UTA, or you can push Enter on the ArgoNavis. Remember, the toggle underneath the DSC acrylic pad must be turned to the left, wireless, for the servocat controller on the UTA to work. Repeat the alignment process for the second star. Turn the dial and find the second star. Point the scope at the star and tap Go To on the wireless servocat or Enter on the ArgoNavis. Turn the Telrad off, as you will not need it during Go To operations. Read the warp number on the ArgoNavis display. It should be between plus 0.5 and negative 0.5. If not, check cable connections and repeat calibration steps. Are you ready to chase down Pluto, a faint galaxy, or an elusive star? Or you can turn these big scopes on a seemingly empty piece of sky and marvel at what you find. Engage the altitude and azimuth clutches. The altitude clutch is moved forward to the right. The azimuth clutch is moved left towards the edge of the rocker box. Use only Go To on the servocat wireless handpad to move the scope. Do not attempt to move it manually when the clutches are engaged. The scope is now tracking, moving at the same rate as the stars. The 2 servocat handpads, wired and remote, have a number of functions. The small switch just above the Go To button controls the speed at which the scope will slew to a new target. For safety reasons, push it down to the slowest setting. Pushing it up to the fastest setting may knock you off the ladder before you can take corrective action. If the servocat handpad light is red, it means it has been set on the fast speed. The 4 yellow buttons move the scope up, down, and left, right. Simultaneously hitting any 3 of the yellow buttons provides an emergency stop during a slew to a new target. Use this function to prevent a collision with a ladder or a person. After an emergency stop, push any of the yellow buttons once to clear the stop and allow the Go To button to function again. Next, we tell the scope what we want to see. We select our target. To press Exit on the ArgoNavis to go up to the top of the menu, and then turn the dial to Catalog. Tap Enter and turn the dial until the correct object type is listed. Press Enter again and turn the dial to select the specific target. For example, in Catalog, select Messier and tap Enter. For the first digit, move the dial to 5 and hit Enter. Then move the dial to 7 and hit Enter again. Tapping Enter after you have the target will scroll information about the target. Before allowing the telescope to move, ensure the area is clear of people and ladders. Touch Go To on the servocat. The telescope will then slew to the object you selected in the ArgoNavis. If necessary, center the object in the eyepiece using the directional controls on the servocat. The scope will continue to track the object. To find a new target, return to the larger handpad, ArgoNavis, and go to Catalog. Using the Enter button and Dial, drill down to the proper object. Using the Function button in conjunction with specific yellow buttons provide additional tools. Simultaneously pushing the Function plus the Up button will start a spiral search. If you find that a slew to your next target is close, but not as accurate as you wish, you can teach the scope where the target really is and improve future go-tos in that area of the sky. Center the target and tap both the Function plus the Left button to synchronize servocat with reality. With thousands of times the light-gathering power of the unaided human eye, these telescopes bring the wonders of the universe up close and personal. Putting everything away properly ensures that the next observer will enjoy the experience too. Sweep any dirt or leaves out of the garage. Power off the ArgoNavis. Disengage the altitude and azimuth clutches. Rotate the scope so the back of the rocker base is over the 12-volt electrical connection. Remove and put away any eyepieces and filters in the Pelican case. Replace the 1 1/4 eyepiece adapter and plastic cap into the focuser in the UTA. Unplug and return the power supply to the cabinet. Replace the bag over the secondary mirror. Loosen the shroud and replace the plywood cover back on the primary mirror. Match up the clips and top of cover with the top of mirror box marked A. Re-secure shroud. Carefully put small cover over DSC stock to protect the ArgoNavis and servocat controllers. Slide the wheeled cart back under the rocker base, wiggling it slightly if necessary. It is a tight fit. Replace the stabilizing bar at the front of the cart. Using the winch, lift the rocker base off of the ground until the left and right lever arms are as far back as they will go. Re-secure the safety chain on the 25-inch. Pull the scope back into the garage, being careful not to hit the garage door or frame. Replace the large cover over the telescope, being careful not to get caught on the Telrad, finder scope, or DSC stock. Plug the extension cords back onto the scope heater. Double check to ensure that everything has been returned to its proper place. Complete a log entry. Notebook in cabinet. Unplug the refrigerator if you used it. Close the main garage door and lock it. Ensure the moving door clears the scope. Turn off the lights. Lock the doorknob and close the door. Check both doors to ensure they are secure. You've just watched the setup and closing of observatory equipment. You've observed the basic facts of mirror collimation, alignment, and operation of the large scopes. The handout, which covers the same information, may be used as a procedural checklist or to look up individual steps. The Maz Observatory has been made possible through the goodwill and cooperation of the Long Lake Conservation Center, as well as the support of many Maz volunteers. The substantial financial investment from generous donors and Maz to equip and improve the site is an investment in the future. Keyholders are stewards of this investment.